They will be presenting how to upgrade to Drupal 9. Kick it off, please.
Okay, so thank you for joining. Yeah, upgrading to Drupal 9, a real life example. So this is me, Kevin Porras, senior Drupal developer from Costa Rica. I've been Drupal developer for around 8 years now. I really love Drupal flexibility and capabilities and presenting at events, teaching. So I'm here. Nice to meet you. Hi. Sorry, I'll keep my camera off for most of the time because there's a little bit of disorder right behind me. Okay, so I work for Evolving Web. It's a web design and Drupal agency based on Montreal, Canada. I work from Costa Rica. The agency has more than 10 years of Drupal experience, and we catalog ourselves as a community of experts. So, nice to meet you. So, what we're going to talk today, we'll make an overview of the Drupal development roadmap, main changes in the different Drupal versions, how to prepare your site for Drupal 9. We'll talk a little bit about some tools to use the upgrade, how to do the actual upgrade to Drupal 9, and then we'll go through a real-life example of upgrading a site to Drupal 9 through screenshots and through a little bit of, I'll tell you a little bit of the story, and then Q&A if you have any question. So let's start with the Drupal development roadmap. You may have seen this image prior in the web. So we are, I don't think I can share my pointer, but we are in the middle of Drupal 7, Drupal 8, and Drupal 9. Right now we have the 3 versions, but Drupal 7 will reach end of life not at the end of 2021, but at the end of 2022. It was extended due to the global pandemic thing that we are all going through. But Drupal 8 end of life will still be at the end of 2021. This because of dependencies and stuff like that. And also because upgrading from Drupal 8 to the next Drupal version, Drupal 9, or even Drupal 10 when it comes out, it will be easier than upgrading from Drupal 7. And that's why we are here today. So let's review some key dates on recent Drupal history. So in June from this year, like 3 months ago, Drupal 9 was launched. And we were all excited about Drupal 9. In December of this year, we expect the launch of Drupal 9.1. In November of the next year, as I just said, we are expecting the end of life for Drupal 8. In June 2022, we expect the Drupal 10 launch. So we are like a little bit less than 2 years from that date. And in November of the same year, we'll expect the Drupal 7 end of life. So yeah, you guess now that Drupal 7 will get its end of life after than Drupal 8, which sounds kind of weird, but that's because of the reason that I just explained. Upgrading from Drupal 7 will take a little bit more of effort, actually a lot more of effort than upgrading from Drupal 8, so that's why. Let's review the main changes between Drupal versions. So as you may recall from Drupal 7, from Drupal 8, it was a full rewrite of the Drupal core. In Drupal 8, we introduced minor releases, which means that every 6 months there will be a minor release that will include an incremental approach, which means that in each minor release, we could include new features in the core. So as an example, in Drupal 8.2, big pipe and inline entity errors were included. In Drupal 8.5, media and content moderation were included in core. In Drupal 8.6, it includes media library. We all love media library and workspaces. In Drupal 8.7, layer builder got stability, also JSON API. In Drupal 8.8, we got new admin team named Claro, which is awesome. So this is something great about Drupal 8 that it releases concept. It introduced an incremental approach. You don't need to wait for a full major Drupal version in order to get new great big features. Instead, you'll get them every 6 months. Now, on June, Drupal 9, what changed from Drupal 9? Actually, it was just a couple of small things. Symfony was upgraded from version 3 to version 4. Tweak 2 was introduced, and all of the existing deprecated code in Drupal 8 was removed. So, yeah, Drupal 9 breaks backward compatibility with Drupal 8. That allows the core to keep evolving and adding new features. A quote from Andreas: "The big deal about Drupal 9 is that it should not be a big deal. Upgrading to Drupal 9 should not be a big deal, because there are no new features in Drupal 9, but it's the most powerful Drupal version ever. Why? Because, as I just said, it will enable your sites to continue getting small or big incremental upgrades in each minor version. So we expect that in December of this year, we get Drupal 9.1, and it will include some awesome new features. So, how to prepare your site for Drupal 9? Let's review. So, these are like steps to prepare your site. We'll go through each one of these steps. So you need to ensure that you're using Composer. Also, you need to guarantee that your contrib and custom code is compatible with Drupal 9. If you're using Drush, you need to be using Drush 10. You need to verify and check some platform requirements. And once you are sure that everything works, you need to do the actual upgrade. So let's go through each one of these points. As I said, Composer, sorry, I was reading through that. As I said, Composer should be, the code base should be using Composer. Explicitly, it should be using the new Composer recommended project that was introduced in Drupal 8.8. So if your code base is not using Composer at all, or if it's using the legacy Composer project, you need to upgrade to the new template. How to do that? There is some good documentation on Drupal.org about how to do that. Here in the slides, there are some links to get you covered with this. You also need to ensure that your contrib modules are compatible with Drupal 9. If you remember, personally, I only remember the upgrade from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, because when Drupal 7 was launched, I was really just starting with Drupal, so I don't really remember that. But I remember the Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 upgrade that, hey, now we have a new Drupal core version, but boo, we don't have any contrib modules. So in this case, the Drupal 8 to Drupal 9 upgrade, there are some stats here in the slide that were taken from the Akia deprecation status dashboard. So as you can see, 39.5% of Drupal 8 modules are Drupal 9 ready now. 94.5% of the top 200 contributed modules are ready to use for Drupal 9. So it's almost all of them. 34.6% of Drupal 8 modules needs only .info.yaml, composer.json, or automated changes. So they are just one step away from being Drupal 9 compatible. and 74.1% of Drupal-like modules are either or explicitly compatible or needs really, really small changes. So it's like 26% of modules that need some manual work, but most of them are or compatible or needs small changes. So as you can see, it's the landscape is much more better than it was from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. So if you are preparing your site to upgrade to Drupal 9, you need to initially update modules to the latest version, and then you need to check if those modules are compatible with Drupal 9. How to do that? We'll see that in the next section when we are going to talk a little bit about some tools. Spoiler alert, if a module is not getting really well maintained, maybe the module could use some contribution. If you are developer, you can contribute to the module. Maybe you will need to do that if you want your module to be upgraded soon. But that's only for some modules that are not so maintained. Okay, next. Ensure custom modules are compatible with Drupal 9. In my experience, the changes that are required here are usually pretty small, unless your custom modules are pretty complex. The changes that you'll need to make them compatible with Drupal 9 will be pretty small. Also, we have one of the tools that will help you to go through this. Actually, maybe two of the tools that will help you to go through this. As I said, you need to ensure that you are using Drush 10. For most of the sites, it will be just a matter of running this composer command. Composer requires drush version 10, and you'll get the right Drush version for your site. Okay. Also, you need to check the platform requirements. What does it mean? If you are using Apache, you need to ensure its version is greater than or equal to 2.4.7. If you're using any other web server, that would be okay. If you're using PHP, it should be 7.3 or greater. If you're using MySQL, you need to match version greater than or equal 5.7.8. Or if you're using MariaDB, it should be greater than or equal 10.3.7. So these are the platform requirements. PHP version for sure could be greater than that. It supports 7.4, and there are efforts in core to support 8.0 when it comes out. So yeah, it's moving fast, it's moving great. So let's talk now about some tools to ease the upgrade to Drupal 9. We'll be talking about upgrade status and vector. So, upgrade status, this is a Drupal module that came out to help people to upgrade their sites to Drupal 9. It provides all-around support for preparing your site to upgrade to Drupal 9. So as any module, you should install it using Composer, you should enable the module, and then you need to either go through the UI or through Drush and run the analysis for each one of your modules. If you decide to go through Drush, you need to run a command like this, drush us-a, and the list of the modules that you want to analyze. My personal recommendation is to run it through Drush because this way it will be less likely to get timeouts. So yeah, that's my recommendation of that. And once you run your module, if you run it through Drush, it will throw you a lot of info about the module. In the CLI, it's not so readable, but then you can go to the UI and find it something like this. So in this example, for this project that I was running it when I took the screenshot, it found 19 errors in 2 different projects. It found a lot of warnings. And it also found that 4 of the modules didn't have any known errors, which means it's Drupal 9 compatible, and I hadn't still run the analysis for 4 projects. If a module is ready, it will show it in green like this. If it has some warnings and you open it, the warnings will look like this. Also, it will show the errors if there are any, and it will help you how to fix it. So in this case, it's saying that the class browser test base was not found. This is because these things were not enabled in this site. So you need to read very carefully all of the warnings, all of the errors and recommendations, because sometimes we could say they are like false positive. They are not really false positive, but if you don't have the test suite enabled, it for sure won't find the test of stuff that it needs, so it will mark it as a warning. And so my recommendation is to read each one of the recommendations really carefully. If there is something that needs to be fixed, so you make some annotations and then you fix it and run the analysis again. Also, this tool will tell you, hey, this set of changes that your module needs could be done automatically by Rector, and this other set of changes need to be manually done, and you also need to check this manually. So it divides the UI like in 3 different sections: automatic changes that you could do through Rector, manual changes, and things that you need to check manually. An interesting example of this that I found was with the Bootstrap team. The Bootstrap team did a lot of, let's say, polyfills for the functions and the stuff that were being removed from Drupal 8, so that it became both compatible with Drupal 8 and Drupal 9. They decided to go to using this approach, and upgrade status mark a lot of things as errors. But once you go and read the code, you find that there are some conditional that if this function is available, so use it, but if this function is not available, go and use this. So even so, upgrade status was marking that as an error, the module was compatible. So this is the kind of things why I say read carefully each one of the errors, of the warnings that upgrade status serve you. It's not that it's a bad tool, it's a great tool actually. It's that maybe there are some special implementations in your projects that you need to understand when reading the update status report. Next tool, Drupal Rector. Rector can save you a lot of manual work by automating code upgrades to Drupal 9. This tool was initially developed by Palantir guys, but it has got a lot of contribution from the community, and people is still adding new rules frequently to the tool so that it can fix more errors automatically. So how to install it? It's a Composer package, so you install it using Composer, like Composer require palantirnet / Drupal Rector. You can install it only as a dev dependency. There's a good blog post about it, and when you need to run it, it's just a matter of running one command, give it the path to the module you need to automatically fix, and it will apply the changes. Then you just review that everything is okay, and you can commit it or create a patch or whatever, depending on the context of what you're doing, and that will be good to go. For sure, not all module changes will be covered by Rector. As I just mentioned with upgrade status, some of them will be covered by Rector, some of them you'll need to do it manually, but it's a great tool to jumpstart making a Drupal 8 module compatible with Drupal 9. And when you run it, it looks like this. I hope you can see it. I'm not 100% sure, but it uses a config file, which it provides a couple of templates, so you just copy the template from the rector folder inside the vendor folder to your repo root. You edit it as you need it, and then you run the command. And in this case, it's only fixing the, I think it is the Drupal L function, which was used to create a link. When it fixes, it changed that to link, to use the front text and URL function from the link class, and it does that automatically. Although this fix looks like a pretty simple fix, if that's on a lot of different places in your code, that could take some time, and Rector will do that for free for you. So yeah, that's a really, really great tool, and it will also cover some more advanced fixes. So yeah, give it a try. If you have a module that you need to upgrade, it may save you a lot of time. So once you prepare your code, so you check that the platform requirements are met on your platform or on your hosting. You upgrade it to Drush 10. You ensure that contrib and custom projects are compatible with Drupal 9. Now it's the time to actually upgrade to Drupal 9. So how to do that? Before doing that, I'm going to tell you about one other possible problem that you may run into if you have, let's say you found a country module which was not compatible with Drupal 8. It needs some fixes in the code, but it also needed to add the line in the .info.yaml file to for compose, sorry, its core version requirement, the line. So it also needed to add this line to the .info.yaml file. So you say, yeah, this module, I add this patch using composer patches. So it should be okay, right? I should now run the composer upgrade or composer required commands and it will work. That's what you may think. Nope, it won't work. I mean, not sometimes. Why? Because the line in the .info.yaml file defines how Drupal core handles the core version constraint. So if there is a module that doesn't have this line, the composer won't recognize it as Drupal 9 compatible, and it will tell you, I can upgrade because there are some dependency things that I can fix, dependency errors that I can fix. So how to work around this? There are some possible workarounds that the community has suggested. So I'll go through 4 of them that are probably the most popular workarounds. So the first one, composer aliases. So you can add an aliases section to your composer.json file, and you alias the Drupal 9 version that you want to get to any 8.9 version, so that when it tries to get this Drupal 9 version, Composer will try that as 8.9, and it will work because it won't get any dependency error now. It works, but my personal feeling about this is that it could get messy in the future. So I really don't like this option. So let's go to the next one. The next 3 options are using a similar approach, which is using composer repositories, but they are using different types of repositories. So let's start with type path. For this option, what is done is that you download the country modules to any path in your repo out of your document root, and then you add a type path repo to the composer.json so that it will get the repo from this other folder where you place the, let's say, module code, and then it will work, it will install the module, it will upgrade to Drupal 9, but this involves adding a lot of contrib files to the repo, and it will make pull requests or merge requests really difficult to review. And we are going back to the time where you had all of the core and contrib code in your repo, which is not ideal. So it also works, but it will add a lot of stuff to your repo. Probably you don't want to do that. So let's look at the next option, type BCS. So for this option, you need to fork the projects either to your personal GitHub account or to your GitLab account, add composer repositories to your composer.json file, but this time you need to set them as BCS and reference your forks. In these forks, you add the right composer.json file and it will work. The problem that I found with this option is that it involves sometimes doing a lot of forks, and it could get kind of messy if you are maintaining a lot of projects, so you need to create a lot of forks for all of the contrib projects that you have on those Drupal sites. So yeah, it will kind of get messy. The final option that I found is using, again, composer repositories, but this time using type package. Personally, I found that this is a really cleaner option. In this case, you only need a little bit of changes to the composer.json, adding the repository, and it will work. So we'll go a little bit deeper on this option. Before doing that, just as a reminder, these are workarounds when a module is not compatible and you really need to do this upgrade. A better solution will be to contribute to the module or to the theme to make it Drupal 9 compatible, which means go to the issue queue and help if there is an issue open, so you can help contributing by, I don't know, posting a patch, reviewing an existing patch, so that these modules gets Drupal 9 compatibility soon. This is the real solution in the ideal world, but we know that in the real world, sometimes the modules are not really maintained as often as you would like. So yeah, you may need to do some workarounds. So let's look deeper to the last option, composer repositories using type package. It will look like this. So this is the only stuff that you need to add to your composer.json. You define a repository. In your repository section, you say this is type package, and you define the name, the type. You say it's a Drupal module so that it will get to the right folder. You set a version, and in the source, you point to the actual Drupal Git repository. You set a reference either to a commit, to a branch, or whatever you like. And then when you require this module and this specific version, it will work. And it won't conflict because it won't try to resolve dependencies because you are defining the repository right there in your project. So it's great and it will work. Thanks to Larolan and DPI for suggesting this in the Drupal Slack. Around 2 weeks ago, someone asked in the Drupal Slack, hey, how are people in real life handling this issue that I found? Then a lot of people started to reply. The thread was really interesting. And then someone suggested that. Then Heren posts that to this issue so that the solution is there available for everyone who needs to take a look at that. Okay, so once you fix that problem that I named as chicken and egg problem, you need to do the actual upgrade. So it's, let's say, your final step before getting Drupal 9 in your site. So how to do that? The recommended way to do that is you run the required command, but in this required command you say, hey, do this, but please do not update yet. Why? Because if you are using core dev package like this, you need to run another command. So once you run both commands, they want to upgrade the base stuff and they want to upgrade the dev stuff. Now you can run composer update. This is the when you run composer update, this is the moment, pray to whatever you believe in, to go and grab a cup of coffee or cup of tea. It will take some time because composer will need to be sure that it can solve all of the dependencies. If it works, you'll have Drupal 9 in your code base now. So it's really easy to do if you prepare ahead of time doing all of these preparation stuff that I just mentioned. And once you do that, it will work. So let's say it worked. So next step, as with any other Drupal update, you need to run database updates and you need to export config to ensure that when you import config on your, let's say, dev, test, or prod environment, it will match what you currently have now that you updated the database. So that's the process to upgrade, to prepare initially, and then to upgrade to Drupal 9. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my first two experiences upgrading sites to Drupal 9. I'll be mostly talking about the first one because the second one was a really, really small site. It was my personal site. It was really small. But the first one is, let's say, it's also small, but it's a good example. So in the contrib land, I initially had to do some module updates. It was a mix and match of module updates, applying some patch so that we can mark them as compatible in upgrade status. At the end of the day, I had to apply 4 patches to get Drupal 9 compatible in the upgrade status report. Once I did that, I moved to custom code. For custom code, I had to do some edits here and there. It was mostly small things. So this is why I was saying that unless your custom code is pretty complex and it's, let's say, pretty old, what you'll need to do to make your custom code compatible with Drupal 9 will be just a couple changes here and there. So this is for sure not all of the stuff that I had to do, but it's a good example that the changes are pretty simple. So in this case, it was changing entity manager to entity type manager and changing the line in the .info.yaml file from core 8.x to core version requirement and support 8.8 and Drupal 9. And that was most of the custom code changes that I had to do to make this site compatible with Drupal 9. Next step, try the upgrade. At this point, when I was doing this, I didn't know about this composer dependency problem, so my belief was I made contrib code compatible, I made custom code compatible, I used drush 10, and then I run the composer update and it will work. My surprise was when I found the error. I didn't know about it up to this point. We are talking like 1 or 1.5 months ago. I didn't know about this, so I found errors. And then I had to start looking how to fix that. Initially, I actually for this site, I went to 3 of the recommendations that I show you. I initially went to forks. It worked. But then someone pointed me that, yeah, this doing forks like this, it's kind of messy. You need to maintain that, and it will be kind of messy, weird to do. So someone recommended me using the type path. I changed that to be type path. It also worked, so it was good. So I left it like that. And as I said, like 2 weeks ago, maybe, there was this discussion in Drupal Slack. So I grabbed this piece of really, really helpful information. And I said, I want to try that. I included that in this presentation. And starting this week, I said, I want to give it a try. So I made the change, and it also worked as expected. I really, really like that because now I was able to remove a lot of contrib code that I had introduced in the repo that I didn't like so much. And now the only changes are like this, defining the repos, and that's all. So yeah, I really like this solution, this workaround. So once I did that, the next step was do the actual upgrade. As I mentioned before, Composer require blah blah Drupal 9 version, then Composer require dev, the core dev package, then Composer update, go grab a cup of coffee or cup of tea, and wait for Composer to resolve dependencies and finalize the operation. Once it did that, actually when it was starting, it looked like this. If it looks like this, it means that Composer was able to resolve the dependency. So it's just a matter of waiting to finish the process. And when it did that, it was the time for the database updates, config explorer, push that to the dev environment, do a lot of testing here and there, also push to the staging environment and then to the live environment. And this site is now on Drupal 9, and it's working pretty well as it was expected. My other experience was, as I mentioned before, was with my personal site. It was smaller than this site, so yeah, I think I had to patch maybe only 1 or 2 modules. I don't think I had to fix any Composer JSON stuff for this site. The custom changes were really, really small, and yeah, it was pretty easy to do the upgrade. I wouldn't say pretty fast because it was my personal site, so I was doing that in my free time, and I was kind of lazy with that. So yeah, it wasn't fast but it wasn't fast not because it was hard to do, but because I didn't give it a lot of time to fix it, to do the actual upgrade. So that's what I want to share. Is there any question?